The number one buff to Kislev was definitely the Elemental Bear, getting both a cost reduction and a melee defense buff, shoring up its two biggest weaknesses. Now I think it will actually be a meta pick in certain matchups, especially against Nurgle, which famously lacks offensive output, especially against large armored monsters. So Elemental Bear today to be healed by Constantine and a Patriarch. We've also got two Warbear Riders for that elite large AP, and again, high armor, large unit. One Kossar to round out the starting army, since I have so many expensive units. In reserve, I've got 3 light war sleds. These guys were, in quotations, nerfed, but the fixes to collision means that all war sleds are now, once again, very much overperforming. I think all the war sleds at this point need a nerf in the next update, but we'll talk more about that in just a bit. I've got 3 of them here just to test them out. Didn't realize quite how broken they were when I took them in this battle, but there you go. Zargard also. Some Frost Maiden here. I've got Heart of Winter and Frost Blades there. Armored Kossars, 2 Kossar Spears, and 2 regular Kossars. My opponent coming in with Kugath, Soul Grinder, 2 Plague Bearers. They did get a speed buff, so they're a little bit better in Domination now. A couple of Nurglings, 4 Nurglings in fact, and 2 Furies. 2 Cultists in reserve with the Rotflies, 2 Beasts of Nurgle as well, 2 Furies, 4 Forsaken, and some Nurglings. So let's jump on in. We're on the classic Broken Leg Gully map, and we should be getting some pretty good work out of the bear, or at the very least it can act as a giant distraction while my other units get the work done. So it only had 20 melee defense before, now it's up to 30 melee defense, again, along with the 200 cost reduction. I recently had been playing a little bit with the bear myself and come to the conclusion that it's pretty decent. It's definitely quite solid, but it just was a little bit overpriced, so minus 200 cost I think is pretty much in line. I might have maybe only done 100, 150, but I think 200 is just fine, along with the 10 melee defense. Now is much more usable. Constantine riding through, and I have to say this red and white color scheme is probably my favorite for Kislev. Reminds me very much of the Empire, but just something about the red and white on those plumes looks very appropriate. Anyway, Kugath going to take the high ground here. Him and his Soul Grinder looking to rain some plague shots down on my forces. He doesn't really have a lot of great targets for the mortar to shoot at initially. Shooting at the bear is going to do a little bit of damage, but won't do all that much. I'm kind of dodging a little bit with the Kossars in the back, just trying to avoid taking too much damage there. So far, so good. Looks like we have some more Furies rushing over here. I've got the 1 Kossar Spear sort of moving up. Believe it or not, these 2 Furies could move in and just massacre these Kossars, given their low offensive output and the Furies' high offensive output, especially for a Nurgle unit. That's one thing. Why Furies, not only their speed, but just the offense. 36 attack, 44 weapon strength. Still not that great of AP, but definitely against a sort of low attack unit like these Kossar Spears, where the anti-large bonus doesn't apply at all. Furies are going to do great. Try and bring in some war sleds to salvage the situation. But the points are not online yet, so he doesn't have to worry about capturing it all, my opponent here. But you can see my idea here is, since my opponent wants to take this high ground position and not challenge me for the center initially, I'm totally fine with just fighting him here. Even if I don't necessarily win, I know it's going to take him a long time to cut through all of these units, whether it's the Elemental Bear or my Bear Cavalry. Constantine providing some healing along with the Patriarch. I've got both the active and passive heal on the Patriarch, so he can try and get all these units up to their healing cap as much as possible. The point being, yeah, it'll take him a long time to break through. I can keep a good majority of his forces just kind of bottled up here on this high ground position and be able to capture these 2 points with relative impunity. Moving up some Kossars, armored Kossars there, but let's watch close as the Bear Cavalry charge through in support of the Elemental Bear, trying to get at Kugath. Plumes fluttering in the winter wind. Man, the green on that Elemental Bear is very intense right now. I'm not sure if that's a bug or if he's just really happy about eating Nurglings, but anyway, over here we've got the rest getting that little bit of passive healing. Nurglings are going to do very little damage to begin with. I mean, have good enough attack stats, 24 against the 37 defense of the Warbear Riders. This this Bella-like of the Arari here, this item that I always fail to pronounce correctly, pretty much. It's good. It's going to be given the little bit of extra melee defense and melee attack. The melee defense in particular is quite important here. But anyway, Constantine now fighting against Kugath. AoE fire damage also very applicable, just fire and ice. It's the power of the elemental bear here with magic damage, frostbite, and flaming attacks. All the modifiers, pretty much. The only thing we could really do to juice it up is, I guess, get a 2v2 going with the Prophet of Sotek to Henowin, and maybe get AoE poison damage as well, just to really top things off. Maybe in the future, someday. Dude, Lizardman Kislev combo is going to be insane. Just saying, in 2v2s, like, I foresee pain and suffering for anyone who decides to try and take them on. Anyway, the War Sleds did eventually push through. The Furies, I had to throw another unit of Kossars out there because the Spears did indeed get massacred. But here come more light War Sleds, and the Frost Maiden also coming over. Right now, the Bear Cavalry are holding quite well. The Elemental Bear also just tanking damage right now. Hasn't really done a lot of damage at all himself, but it's soaked up, yeah, like 5,000 damage already. Potential to soak up quite a bit more as well. Same thing like these War Bear Riders, not even close to their healing cap yet. I mean, I guess this one's approaching their healing cap, starting to at least. Heart of Winter also going to be cast here. And meanwhile, in the center, my infantry were able to secure. Some Forsaken have tried to come in, but the Sleds up on the high ground, charge down in support. They're going to be helping to fight Kossars with their axes out. They're decent enough in melee. They'll trade all right, certainly. Better than other factions' archers will in the future. Plague drones moving in, that's going to be a problem. Their armor-piercing attacks should do okay against the Sleds, but the Sleds, one thing about the Sleds is their mass is just insane. 3,500 entity mass is quite strong, and that's one thing they could do, I think, to nerf the War Sleds, would be to reduce their mass to like 2,900, maybe 3,000. I think that's about where, if I remember, I checked Gorby's chariots recently. I want to say they were right around 2,900, but anyway. Oof, Soul Grinder duking it out here with the big bears. Not going to go great for the Soul Grinder if the bear has enough HP. That being said, the bear does not have enough HP, only 442 at this point, so a couple of hits from the Soul Grinder could actually spell the end, but the Sleds also coming to help, helping to clear out a lot of that infantry. Now Kugath is soloed out against all of these War Bear Riders here. Really, really bad situation. Elemental Bear getting so low, down below 100 HP. Thankfully, it is unbreakable. Just barely getting a heal there. Look at that, just teetering on the edge of life. Literally about to go down. Manages to survive just barely as those summoned Plague Bears, looks like, or the actual Plague Bears. Yeah, actual Plague Bears there just drop. And the bear survives. Got down to like single digits HP there. But some clutch Dawes Brazier here with that active heal as well to keep him in the fight. Likewise, Kugath desperately trying to get out of this bad situation and get down to the low ground to try and stabilize. In terms of points, I've been able to hold Nurgle pretty well, and I'm even capturing this high ground objective now just through sheer capture weight. Got some more Nurglings moving in here, some more Rotflies as well. Kundity popped is going to heal a lot of these units. Does manage to get the Soul Grinder there as well, so it can try and hold out for a little bit longer. But Patriarch and Constantine both with armor-piercing damage, very much helping to contribute. And Kislev, bear spam is still the way to go, I think, in this matchup. I mean, this was sort of the way to go before, but the Elemental Bear does add an element to this. I've managed to stabilize it here. A little bit of Taurus battled him up to almost 1,800 HP there. Yeah, actually above 1,800 HP with that little bit of passive healing tick. And now able to just move in and continue to hold down this objective. So although it really hasn't done all that much damage, value-wise, yeah, not even half of its damage. Well, a little over half, I guess, made up. But still, tactically, just being able to contest and control that objective and sort of dictate the pace of the battle, being able to bottle up so much of Nurgle's forces in that unfavorable, or even if it was slightly favorable situation, they still couldn't get to where they needed to be, which is to secure the second objective, so that's fine. More Kossars moving into melee just to continue to hold the capture weight down in the center objective, and the bear now alone, well, mostly alone. Some Nurglings moving in to help. Backbreaker will be the Zargard, and some more armored Kossars moving in just to provide some very heavy capture weight. That's going to be almost impossible to dislodge, but let's see. We'll keep it in cinematic cam. Watch these Kossars bust their pistols out. Man, the Kossars especially, like with this red and white color scheme, they look fantastic. I don't know why. The crimson shields and the gold and it's a nice color scheme. What can I say? Yes, indeed. At this point, Kugath is going to be shot point blank by a bunch of these Kossars, armored Kossars. The Sleds as well, just in a massive brawl here with all of the Warbear Riders as well. Just in a huge surround. The summoned Plague Bears, I believe, yeah, these are summoned Plague Bears. Yep, they're going to be gone relatively shortly anyway, but we're getting just mauled to the very death. Meanwhile, more Forsaken moving in. More Plague Bears, and even more Forsaken. You know, it's interesting. Previously, I would have said Forsaken are the way to go pretty much for all of your infantry. Now, though, with the speed increase to Plague Bears, I do think on certain maps, like this one is one where you could probably use Plague Bears, and even Exalted Plague Bears. They got a cost reduction as well, so you can take quite a few of them now and still be able to have, yeah, a good amount of value to work with. The armor-piercing missiles, I believe they got some extra ammo as well on their death's heads. The Exalted Plague Bears did, so Kugath going down there to the bears, and although, you know, initially I kind of teased the Elemental Bear being the centerpiece, in reality what has done the damage is in fact the Warbear Riders. This unit is 33,000 damage, 4,600, almost 4,700 gold damage value there. And the other unit that is almost dead has 4 unit models left, almost 3,000 damage value as well. So just absolute insanity, more Vigor Refresh. And the Vigor Refresh also cannot be overstated here. Being able to fully replenish the Vigor, especially against a faction which lacks AP, where the armor is critical, because when you get exhausted, you get a percentage-based armor debuff that is devastating when you're facing high DPS non-AP units like Plague Bears or Forsaken, right? So it critically, especially in a matchup like this, you definitely need the Vigor Refresh and the heal both to be effective, and if you have both, definitely can be effective, still completely fresh. All these Warbear Riders, another Heart of Winter going down here. There's charging for Kislev. I have to say, this patch has revitalized my interest in the game. Definitely been enjoying playing games on the new patch, spectating games on the new patch, playing a little bit of modded campaign as well. Probably going to be streaming some more of that this upcoming week during the weekdays. We'll have to wait and see kind of what my schedule entails, but I've already announced tournament for this upcoming weekend as well. Recording this on April the 7th. And the tournament is for the 9th, so probably come out on the 8th. So if you're seeing this before the 9th, there is still time. Go and sign up. It's on Turin's Total Tavern website, where he hosts his tournaments. I'm also going to be hosting my tournaments there going forward. And Rob Flies are so cool. As a unit, aesthetically, the sound design of them is just so good. They are not actually doing very much right now. The Warbear Riders still fighting. I mean, this one unit going to the absolute bitter end. The other unit, I think, was finished to the man. This unit now getting, finally, they just barely get there by our blood passive in the extreme late game. That is going to be a victory for me, though. Well played to my opponent. Great game in general. It was a little bit of a test game, you might say. So, builds aren't meta by any means, but I definitely think that the Big Bear has a role here. Whether or not he deals a bunch of damage or just acts as a big distraction piece, he allowed these other units to get the damage in. And oh man, this has to be one of the best performances I've had from a unit in an actual, like, real-life domination game. 6,000 damage. Gold value, 40,000. 41,942 to be specific. Damage dealt, straight HP damage dealt. That's absolutely insane. Constantine also completely healthy at the end there, along with the Patriarch. It's continuing to grind down what Nurgle brought to the table. I say the Sleds are OP, and I mean, they do pretty much overperform in a couple of cases, but they're about on par what you would expect, perhaps, right? Especially given that Nurgle didn't actually have very many counters, didn't have any spawns, and he didn't have any toads. Forsaken are okay, but they end up kind of underperforming pretty badly, to be honest. They're great against the Kislev cavalry, but if they don't, I mean, the traditional Kislev cavalry, like the Winged Lancers and the Griffin Legion, they're not so great against the Bear Riders if the Bear Riders have good support. They can trade well with spawns especially, or with the armor sundering of the cultists kind of helping him out. But in general, I would say he probably wants more mass here. Kugath does okay. The Plague Bears actually pay for themselves, which is nice to see. Furies also do a pretty good job. So interestingly enough, I might kind of reverse what I would used to do in this matchup and take Plague Bears instead of Forsaken here. Maybe mix in a couple of Toads as well, but let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Hopefully you enjoyed this. I know I certainly did. Like I said, been enjoying this new patch. We'll continue to bring you content from it. Hopefully you guys like that. If you do want some more, be sure to subscribe, hit that like button. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.